Welcome to day 167 of the 300 Movie Challenge. Today we watched the highest grossing film of April 2008, which was The Forbidden Kingdom. Basically, we saw Asian people fight each other for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I kind of shit on like dumb action movies that have a lot of explosions and aren't very smart. But I guess it's because like I'm Asian, but I have a soft spot for like martial arts with like almost no
I
reason behind
guess
it.
the thing with the martial arts movies is that well, I can't exactly say because, but at least with this movie in particular, there was at least some cohesive plot that didn't just involve let's make an excuse
Yeah,
for
it
Yeah,
was
I mean,
explosions.
it wasn't a good plot, but it served its purpose.
it was
Yeah.
there. It was very simple. It was like you get item A to person B, and then something good will happen.
And you have to fight a
I
couple
also-
bosses along the way.
Mm, I also appreciated the fact that the main guy like didn't get some invincible power at the end or anything.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
Yeah, he was actually a pretty decent protagonist where he had like the enthusiasm at first, but he didn't have the practical skill for martial. By the way, he is the only white person in this movie.
Well,
Yep.
except for like the bullies. Or
Oh yeah,
whatever,
except the
but
bullies. Yeah, but
kind of
they're
irrelevant.
completely unimportant.
Yeah.
and just
That
like
too. Oh wait, yeah.
beating up fodder. But yeah, he was like a good protagonist because you could see his arc. It's like not the absolute best arc, but it is an arc where he learns how to fight, he learns how to apply his like interest in martial
Yeah.
arts to himself, and then he also becomes more brave, which is
Yeah.
also good. So
At the end of the thing too, like if you notice, he's not fighting either of the main bosses. Like either the 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 Jade not the Jade Emperor, the
Warlord.
Jade Warlord.
Jade Warlord person or like the witch person. He's fighting like the regular soldiers and stuff.
Yeah,
So-
they didn't just
and
give
it's
him plot armor.
Yeah.
he knows like where his place is, and it's not fighting the main bosses, it's like support.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's-
the story and like the character arcs are pretty like they're cliched archetypes,
Mhm.
but
But they're executed fine.
they're fine, and they don't get in the way. They don't feel like excuses for things. None of the plot or the characters are great, but they work. So fair enough, basically. I mean,
And they throw in a lot of humor.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. It's pretty
I
funny.
feel like, yeah, this is one of those very rare movies where it's like super cliche and it's like kind of tropey and there are things that don't work, but overall I kind of like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's to me this is like a more balanced 300.
Yeah. I agree
Right?
with that.
Because like
Yeah.
300 had some really dumb shit, but it also had some shit that was so ridiculous it was amazing. So like this wasn't as dumb as the worst of 300, but it wasn't as like hilarious as the best of 300.
Yeah,
right?
it was
so it's like
pretty
it's
balanced.
it's a balanced like, you know, action movie
That-
with enjoyable action and a story that and characters that work well enough for it to be at least enjoyable. But in terms of like, it's kind of like where do I compare the two? Because I'm like, the best stuff was in 300, but in terms of like how I felt averaged out throughout the whole thing, I don't know. It's hard to say.
I guess the one main difference that I find is 300 was supposed to be taken as a completely serious movie, while in this
Was
movie,
it really? I don't know. Like, it's hard to
Well,
tell.
I mean, like here they intentionally put humor and stuff, right?
Yeah.
While in 300, it's not like someone says a hilarious line for the point of it being like humor and stuff.
Yeah, 300 feels like 300 feels like the Shadow the Hedgehog of movies, where it's like so much hilarious shit comes from it, but at the same time, I don't know. I really can't tell where it's like, did they make this like it was they knew that this was ridiculously hilarious, or were they actually thinking this was cool?
I guess considering the director was like Zack Snyder, I am willing to say he might have taken it seriously,
I
but
don't know.
just based on what we saw, I'm willing to say that it could go either way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, this was very clearly like, this is a ridiculous action movie. That's why you're watching it. So here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you came here for kung fu, we're gonna give you kung fu.
yeah.
And we're gonna throw in some humor in there too.
Yeah, and then just like again the action stuff that's just like ridiculously entertaining. Like the witch just like randomly starts using her hair, and you're like, "What the fuck?" Comes out of nowhere.
Oh yeah, the one thing that I kind of appreciated is like the opening part was like the Monkey King like fighting a bunch of warriors, and like it looks really cheesy and bad, but that is kind of how Asian movies look. And then like the rest of the movie was mostly like the Western way of doing it, where it actually looks like pretty decent, and you can tell that they are in a place instead of like on some weird platform in like a green screen room. So I appreciated the fact that they put in like
Oh.
the bad movie aspects of it, where it's like that's totally not on a mountain.
I guess another thing too is when you mentioned that the visuals and the like places they went to and stuff, they were really pretty.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
the
no,
bamboo
definitely.
and the sand and everything.
The,
Did they go
the-
to China for
I don't-
this?
well, the landscapes and like are really really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Like-
definitely good.
Oh, and the
plus.
sun costume design. The costume design is really nice.
Yeah. Like you feel really immersed in this world, despite all the things. It's
There
how
were some
like
really-
pretty.
There were some really like funny like special effects, like with the Jade Emperor like rising into the game.
Oh yeah. And like then he's blowing at him.
He blows away the main protagonist back into his world. It's like minty fresh breath.
And then a lot of the fights, like especially involving the Monkey King, is like kind of similar, where it's so obviously like, if not CGI, some sort of like wire work or something, but it's like it's just so entertainingly ridiculous. They're like, yeah, for sure, fine.
Where even the Monkey King's not taking it seriously.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, the only thing that I think I would say is like bad, and it's not even that bad. It's just that like that they try to kind of force in some sort of romancy thing.
That too, the girl was completely useless.
Yeah,
except for
she-
like the jade dagger thing.
And she failed to
Yeah.
do that anyway. The guy did it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was just kind of like, and then there's the whole thing where she speaks in third person for some reason.
I don't know
Yeah.
why.
Like
I feel like if they just cut her away from the movie, it would have been okay.
yeah, like the
Yeah.
third person thing. The only thing I could think of is like, if somehow there's a thing about like, if maybe she had like a twin that died, and she's trying to like live a life like for her or something, but they never said that that's what it was, so it literally doesn't make any sense. So yeah.
Mm.
Or
just
maybe it's
pretty
like that whole thing where like I've lost my innocence, so I will refer to myself as like the shell of who I once was thing. Because the whole like honor and identity thing is like it's very pervasive in Asian media.
I guess it's just I don't know. It still
So-
comes off as really
It's-
weird.
It's not to justify it. It's just maybe this is what they were going for. It was really dumb though.
I thought it was like, I guess I had the lowest standard of all three of us, but I just thought it was you know how there's like a thing where, oh, she speaks in third person. That's really cute and everything. So
There
that's
is.
Oh, you mean like the kawaii girl?
yeah,
Oh.
She was so like deadpan.
Yeah,
serious.
exactly.
Yeah, that's why I was confused too. I was like, this doesn't seem like.
Do we have a deadpan
something
snarker
that
or
fall under.
deadpan lolly character? I guess. But we're not watching an anime.
Yes.
It was, yeah, no, the thing is, like, as soon as you see that, oh, she is joining the group, you're like, okay, they're totally gonna have her, like, as, like, a love interest for Mr. White Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they
token
do.
love it.
And they don't do anything else with her either, so it's just like, okay, whatever. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter because, like, the characters don't really matter that much anyway, but, yeah, it's just not really needed.
Oh yeah, there were some interesting wigs in this movie.
Oh my god, Jackie Chan's long hair.
It was so bad. There were so many shots where I was like, "That's definitely a wig. That's definitely a wig." And I'm
And
pretty
then
sure,
the witch's hair too.
yeah,
she just turns it. She just turns into Bayonetta. Starts using it to fight. Yeah, Also, if you noticed with her, like, pretty much every scene, even if she was just standing there, her hair was, like, blowing around.
Yeah.
Even though, like,
Like, there was this
even though, like,
one
nobody
scene
else in the shot had their hair blowing around.
Yeah.
Not only that, but there was this one scene where they're standing at the desert and it's supposed to be all dramatic and everything, but her hair is just in her face.
Oh yeah, the guy, the protagonist said this desert is hot,
Oh, yeah.
and we were just like,
Okay, thanks.
I don't like sand.
Thanks, Anakin. Ugh, yeah, this so...
Just because we didn't like the movie you were in afterward, Anakin, doesn't mean you have to come into this movie.
I know, right? We've had your influence enough already.
Yeah.
Wait, and he was in a desert a lot in the last one, too.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
Did
actually.
he even mention that, like, at all? In
No,
the
I don't
review?
I
think
don't
so.
remember. I remember I mentioned it during the movie,
Yeah.
but I don't know if we did it during the review because we were just so like mind blown at how stupid it was.
Yeah. Yeah, so Jumper is, like, bad stupid, whereas this is, like, good stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically a way to put it.
So if you like, dumb action movies and maybe explosions don't please you, maybe this might because it's martial arts. So
And
Yeah.
really beautiful scenery.
Yeah, dumb
Yeah.
martial arts with really good scenery. Is basically
Scenery
what this
porn.
was. Yeah.
And costuming and yeah.
Yeah, just visual style just in general for all of it was really good.
And Asians.
Yes, and
Asians. If you're looking for Asians, watch this movie.
But basically, if you wanted to watch a Dragon Ball Z movie, watch this instead of Dragon Ball Evolution.
yeah.
There you go.
Actually, because for a second, the white
Also-
boy, I thought he kind of looked like Goku from Evolution, but
Apparently he's not.
yeah, it's a different person, but he kind of looks like him.
Yeah.
Also, if I'm to tag another movie to what Valen mentioned too, watch this instead of the Avatar: The Last Airbender
Oh
movie too.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, because in the very beginning, he was like, "Oh my god, this looks like Chinese Last Airbender."
yeah,
At least it wasn't.
yeah.
Eh,
There were more Asians in this movie than I think in the Last Airbender.
yeah,
oh.
that and
Only
Evolution.
the only Asians were the Fire Nation.
Which didn't
They were
make any
Indian
sense.
anyway.
They should
Yeah.
have made like the Water Tribe Indian.
Well, okay,
Yeah,
'cause
I
hold on.
don't-
Isn't the whole thing that, like, in the show, like,
They're Inuit.
yeah, they're Inuit, the Fire Guys are, like, Japanese.
They're Japanese imperialists.
Yeah.
The Earth Kingdom is Chinese, and then the air
Is
nomads
Tibetan.
are Tibetan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're, like, all kind of East Asian-y. I guess Inuit's not really, but, like,
Yeah,
pretty similar. So then they make
you could
it,
pass for
Yeah,
Inuit
so then they
if you
make-
can't get enough.
in the movie, they make the Inuits white. They make the Earth people, I guess they're still Chinese. And I guess the air people are still kind of the same too. And then yeah, they changed the fire to Indian. Like, why? It doesn't make any sense.
Why is Aang white as fuck?
He's like, yeah, I don't know. It's just
He's not Tibetan. I would be like damned to say that he is Tibetan. He is not Tibetan.
Actually, I have a question for you.
Oh god.
Which is a worse movie, The Last Airbender or Dragon Ball Evolution?
Oh. Well, the fact that in Dragon Ball Evolution they call it airbending is kind of interesting.
I don't know. Which is worse? Share your opinions in the comments.
Boy.
Which
I
movie
guess
destroyed
we'll
your
have a little
childhood?
vote. Wait, Ellen, you can make a little vote thing for
Oh,
this
yeah, I
video,
can.
right?
Oh yeah, you can put like a voting thing in the card. So
Yeah.
go in the card and tell us which one you think is worse, and then
Yes.
explain in the comments, and we'd be interested to know
Tell
because
us, tell us which movie ruined your childhood more.
I've only seen the 2 Nostalgia Critic reviews of each.
Yeah, and then there's IHG did The Last Airbender,
Yeah,
so I've seen that, but
yeah. So
yeah,
I
I don't
just heard of the
notorious notoriety.
Yes.
Notoriety.
Yes, that word.
I don't know. I mean, I've never watched Dragon Ball Z. I honestly don't care to look at it. It honestly doesn't interest me.
It's a dumb action anime, basically.
But and I didn't. Okay, I've seen the all of the Last Airbender show, but I never watched it as a kid. Honestly, as a kid, I thought it looked dumb, and I don't know why I thought that, but I did. But I watched it like, when was that? Like 2014 or something like
It
that.
was a couple years ago.
Yeah, and then I watched Korra shortly after that too. So I guess I probably would find Last Airbender worse just because that's the one I know, but at the same time I'm not like super nostalgic connection to it either, so I don't know. I mean, I do like the show a lot, but it's like it's not like, oh, my baby, you know. So.
I guess out of all 3 of us, Mayan is the best one because she watched Dragon
Oh yeah,
Ball
I've watched
and
both.
Avatar.
Yeah, I guess a little bit of background. Maybe this is why I like this movie. I used to be like hardcore shonen trash when I was a kid.
At least
And,
you
like,
admit it.
Into like high school, I was like hardcore shonen trash. So I guess if I was to say, I haven't watched either of the abominable live action adaptations, but as for which would offend me more, I think The Last Airbender would offend me more because it's like they were given like all of the races, even though like, you know, Dragon Ball, it's all Asians too because it's Journey to the West also. But in The Last Airbender, they kind of went out of their way to fuck up all of the nations.
Yeah.
All of them.
At least like I could see you could make the argument for Dragon Ball Z that like the characters themselves, like the nationalities, like not really important, and so
Because
therefore
some of them are
you know.
aliens.
Yeah, so I could at
So-
least like I understand that, but it's like for example, yeah, it's like why something like that wouldn't be as big of a deal as like the whole like Ghost in the Shell thing, right?
Or like, okay, yeah. So the other thing is that like I think Dragon Ball Evolution, it takes place not in the same context as the original show. So it's not trying to be Dragon Ball Z. It's trying to take the idea of Dragon Ball Z and apply it to some white guy. The Last
And
Airbender
trying to like make money off of it, basically.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a good.
The Last Airbender is trying to adapt the TV show,
yeah.
and it fails so hard. It's kind of like the argument of, so the Death Note live action Netflix movie came out like recently, like this past year or something, and the main complaint is that why didn't they just make it a different story? Because they took the characters from the original Death Note, but they completely changed the story and they fucked it all up. So if they were going to make an American Death Note, just make an American Death Note with new characters.
Yeah.
Don't take the original people and And then the thing with Ghost in the Shell too, like they made it so Scarlett Johansson was Japanese, but then she was put into a white robot or something. It was like, it was really messy. Don't do that.
I mean, yeah,
Just-
like again,
Yeah,
there are
don't.
some things where like the race like doesn't matter, right?
Yeah,
But like
Yeah.
you
there
know,
are some cases.
so
But there are cases where you don't touch the things that don't belong to you.
yeah, like I
Yeah.
remember there was something I think this is the what it was, where there was some like rumblings that like they were thinking of having like a black James Bond, right? And it's like, okay, sure, like that's doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's
that makes
fine.
sense.
But again, if your
That's
character is literally named something like, you know, Mizu
Makoto
Hayakuma, like
Kusanagi?
yeah, like that's a Japanese person. Okay, I'm sorry, that's what it is. You know, it'd be like
You're
if-
gonna tell me Makoto Kusanagi is some white person?
yeah, that doesn't work. Like, it'd be like if they tried to. Okay, what if they like?
There's like Prince of Persia too.
Oh my
Oh, yeah.
gosh.
Prince of Persia, or again, 300.
Or the fact that people like to make Egyptians white for some reason.
Oh yeah,
They're not fair skinned, guys. They're pretty dark.
they're basically Arabs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, again, they could sometimes they do this even like because they change the race, it like actually fucks up the story. Like,
Yeah.
think of it like this: what if they like made like a Code Geass movie, but like
Okay.
everyone was white?
It wouldn't make any fucking sense.
No, it literally ruins the story. Like, come on. I mean, I guess they haven't done that yet, so I guess we can't get mad at that, you know. But, like, don't you see, like, that? I feel like that is, like, a legitimate thing that could happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Where, you know, they make... yeah, they're just like...
Or-
okay.
Like Full Metal Alchemist, if you make everyone white, then it completely messes up the
yeah.
Scar.
that- Yeah.
Like
that's-
Scar's whole thing, like, hello? Full Metal Alchemist fans?
I watched the first 4 episodes, and then I just never watched anymore for, like, no reason, but...
You need to finish
I'm
it.
sorry, I just haven't got... I don't know why.
You need to
We're
finish it.
getting off topic.
Well, okay, I guess...
But I guess I will say this movie with the race thing, it was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't offend any
No.
of us with
Yeah.
the whole race.
No.
No.
It was just some person got stuck in a situation he didn't think he would get stuck in,
Yeah.
and then he got through it, and he didn't take the savior role because like
Yeah.
he gave the staff to the king, but
Yeah,
the king,
that's true. I was actually worried they were
Yeah.
gonna do that and have it be, oh, the white boy saved them all, and it's like, okay, no. So,
he
Yeah.
facilitated saving them all, but
yeah,
the monkey king saved them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's okay.
yeah,
This movie is a good example of where it's okay,
yes.
but don't make Makoto Kusanagi white.
Oh my-
Jesus.
It's really not that hard.
It really isn't.
Like, if you had to go out of your way to say that in her previous life she was Japanese, you fucked up. You fucked up bad.
It's just...
Don't anger people with the race thing anymore. Like the interpreter, we were even like, it would have been so much easier if she was black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, again, even, like, my mom afterwards was like, oh, but, like, you know, there are South African people that, or whatever, or wherever she's from, that are white, and it's like, yeah, obviously, it's like saying that, you know, is literally every single person in Japan, like, ethnically Asian? No. But,
No.
like,
Yeah.
there's a general amount of people and things, and it feels, you know, it's that whole thing where, I forgot what the term was, but it's like, the default is seen as white.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, white people, I know some people are gonna get butt mad about this, but like, we are minorities in terms of the entire world, okay? So,
Do you know where most of the population is? China.
yeah, and
We're the majority.
yeah, so
China,
India.
India.
yeah, so we should have, like, if you wanted to be, you know, actually representative of everything, most movies should have brown leads. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and again, like, people, you know, like for example, like you guys would get mad at like the stuff like with Ghost in the Shell and things like that, and like, but then there's people on the other side who get mad, like, you know, again, like with James Bond being black, and it's like, well, there's literally, you know, a difference there, because again, the character's race for James Bond literally doesn't matter, right?
Guys, you guys had like 7 white James Bonds, please.
Yeah, and here's the thing.
Shut up.
My perspective is, again, I'm white, right? I'm white male. I'm white straight male. Okay, so I have no you know, game in terms of this like minority representation, right? That's irrelevant to me. Okay, on a personal level. So you know what my take on it is? I don't fucking care. Right? So I don't. Yeah, okay, James Bond might be black. Okay, so what? Like, I don't feel like, oh my god, they're taking away white culture. Like, what the fuck? Like, why is that a thing? It's so dumb.
Like, looking at history and everything, we're going severely off topic. But anyway, going off of history and everything, there was a time when, like, in Europe, like, you know how right now it's like white is seen as like a single culture and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There is no white culture technically, because
Yeah.
if you go to like Europe and everything, like an English person is vastly different from like a French person
Or a German person.
or a German person or a Swedish person in terms of like culture and tradition and everything.
Yeah, or even, again, within that, like, for example, a couple hundred years ago, there were, like, you know, dozens of Germanic states, and they were all unique and stuff, right? So
They
Yeah.
don't see themselves as white. They see themselves as German or French.
yeah,
Yeah.
and also,
English.
if you remember back to, like, not early, well, I guess, like, mid-late 1800s, where there were, like, a bunch of immigrants from Europe coming to the U.S.,
Yeah.
there was very much, like, stuff about, like, you know, the Germans Americans versus the Italian Americans versus the
Yeah,
Irish
there were,
Americans,
like,
right? There were a
they
bunch of
hated each
issues in
other.
there.
German Americans or Italian Americans and I
Yeah,
think Russian
it's just,
Americans.
I don't know, just as someone who's white, I don't understand this attitude of like, oh my god, they're taking away our white dominance or whatever. And it's like, even again, first, if you assume that's true, which again is really arguable, I don't care. Like, I literally don't give a shit. It's like, who fucking, why is this a problem? Why
Like, the
does this
thing that I
affect you?
hate-
You could,
The thing that I hate is the fact that they don't consider the fact that Ghost in the Shell hurts Asian people. Like, do you see movies about Asian people? We got one recently, Crazy Rich Asians, and that's it.
and again, I'm not even talking about that. I'm saying from your own selfish white perspective, literally, why do you care?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't, like, it doesn't matter. Why is it that, again, it's the same kind of, they flip it around, because it's the whole thing like, oh, so you're saying, like, you can't connect with the character unless they're Asian or whatever, and it's like, well, apparently you're freaking out because you can't connect with the character if they're not white, so, what the fuck? Like, be consistent at least. God damn, and they're not, and it's just like, ugh, whatever. It's okay, this has gotten so far off topic.
Anyway,
This is an enjoyably ridiculous movie.
yeah,
There you go.
watch it. It's fun.
Oh, wait, can I just say one last thing?
Sure.
Sure.
There's also another type of movie where they'll add like people of color and stuff.
Oh, like the token
and
black character.
minorities. There's that, but then they'll be like, I'll take Tomb Raider for example, or something like that, where it's like they go to the country and stuff, but they make it the most stereotypical
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
thing of that country, where it's
Don't
very
do that.
demeaning and stuff, and it's just like the main characters are already above them and stuff, and it's just like
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do
it's
that.
not helping either, guys.
Yeah, whatever. People are stupid.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Well, I guess speaking of Tomb Raider, the preview.
oh yeah, the next movie is a sequel.
Oh no.
I'll leave it at that.
This will be one of the. This movie we just watched will be one of the better ones for until right after that, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
okay.
Bye.
Bye.